By July 1909, the Proctor family had donated 5 parks to the people of Utica, nearly 500 acres that included the largest, Roscoe Conkling Park, designed by Frederick Olmsted, Jr. A far cry from the mere 7 acres of public parkland Utica had before 1897. At last, Utica had parks, but it had no parks system. There was as yet no direct way to travel from park to park. For years, Thomas R. Proctor had advocated for the creation of a tree-lined boulevard that would be a kind of park in its own right. And in the spring of 1906, Olmsted, apparently at Proctor's urging, produced a design for that parkway. At the same time, the Utica Chamber of Commerce hired Olmsted to produce a pioneering urban planning report, one of the first such studies by the Olmsted brothers. Published in 1908, that report recommended the creation of a green belt, stretching almost around the entire city. Although that ambition wasn't fully realized, Utica's Parkway, which in its original form stretched nearly 5 miles, cradling much of the city and linking the parks, became a reality. Utica's city government built an experimental half-mile stretch of the Parkway from Genesee to Elm Street in the summer and fall of 1909. They wanted to give the people of Utica an idea of what the project would look like before committing tax dollars to the creation of the entire boulevard. When this first leg was finished, the public's response was enthusiastically favorable, and so the City of Utica carried out the rest of the Olmsted Parkway design between 1910 and 1919. In contrast to the larger, better-known parkways designed by Olmsted's father for Buffalo, Utica's Parkway was arguably more consistent with the general Olmsted style, curvilinear rather than straight, following the natural contour of the land. Indeed, one stretch consisted of 2 lanes that rose up and hugged the Conkling Park Hill before bending to the northeast, cutting across farmland that would become an Olmsted-designed residential district. At last, the parks were linked by a wide, tree-lined boulevard of the sort that Proctor and Olmsted had advocated. But the park-building endeavor of the Proctors was not quite finished yet, and Olmsted's work in Utica was far from done. Proctor decided he wanted to cap off the eastern end of the parkway with one last park, one that was in many ways the masterpiece of his collaboration with Olmsted. Named in honor of Proctor's half-brother, the Frederick T. Proctor Park was opened to the public in 1914. It was notable for several beautiful cement-reflecting pools, lovely stonework and decorative features, elaborate walking paths, and white latticework bridges over the creek. The most striking features? 2 ponds in the lower level of the park. One of these ponds featured a round, domed, neoclassical temple that was more likely to Proctor's taste than Olmsted's. By widening the park's starch factory creek to create an island and a waterfall, a second pond was fashioned and, like most Olmsted creations, was made to look natural rather than engineered. Unfortunately, the 2 ponds were removed as part of a flood control effort by the Works Progress Administration during the 1930s. But the WPA also enhanced the park by building stonework to complement Olmsted's creations, as well as 2 stone restrooms, later known as bathhouses. The park also featured a formal granite gateway designed by Proctor's brother Frederick. Olmsted wasn't fond of it, but Thomas Proctor liked his brother's contribution, and so it was built and remains to this day. When Thomas R. Proctor died in 1920, the park was still owned by his family, though they had permitted the public to enjoy its use. But in 1923, Maria Proctor donated the park to the people of Utica. Utica's public parks and parkway system were now complete, yet Olmsted's work in Utica continued. as did the elaboration of the Parkway that he and Proctor had done so much to create. Much more was yet to come in making Utica an Olmsted city.